Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Dominic Bartola, and I'm moderating the panel on the topic of building your automation agenda DIY or as a service. We're so excited to hear from our esteemed panelists. Joining us today is Harveer Singh, Chief Data Architect and Global Head of Engineering at Western Union, Gayatri Natarajan, Director, Program Management and IT Business Strategy at Intertape Polymer Group. And if you do not know, most of us have probably had an experience with Intertape Polymer Group because they do the Amazon packaging tape. And most of us have probably opened one of those boxes in our lifetime. And MAHESH Vinayagam, of course, CEO and founder of qBotica, a pioneering RPA and automation as a service firm, and the sponsor of this session. So let's get started. Gayatri, let's start with you, and Harveer and MAHESH can follow. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your role within your company.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Gayatri Natarajan. Thank you for the opportunity and very happy and excited to be here. I am responsible for strategic planning, prioritization, and execution of IT portfolio across the enterprise here at Intertape Polymer Group. We are a leading manufacturer of protective and packaging films with $1.3 billion revenue and 27 plants across different geographical locations. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Harveer?
Yes, hi, I'm Harveer Singh. I am the Chief Data Architect and the Head of Engineering at Western Union. And Western Union is a 170-year-old company, one of the largest companies in the cross-border money transfer today, and has an agent network of about 550,000 agents across the world, including our Woo.com digital presence, which enables real-time money transfer. My portfolio includes data engineering, standing up the MarTech, the ad tech stack, and then defining the master data strategy for Western Union.
Wonderful. MAHESH?
Thank you, and good morning, all. My name is MAHESH Vinayagam. I am the CEO and founder of qBotica. And this is an exciting conference. So we have been to many generalist conference. So we're happy to be back and to be joined by Gayatri and Harveer, one of our esteemed clients today. It's even more rewarding for us as a partner here. So qBotica is a RPA and intelligent automation firm. So we actually provide automation as a service to clients, as well as provide custom automation that clients can do on their own. So very excited to be part of this panel here today.
Thank you, MAHESH. So we're going to go ahead and start with you, actually, with one of our first questions. So how did you get into robotic process automation, and why do you choose to stay?
Excellent. So I've been in the technology industry over 25 years now. And about 10 years ago, I was reading this article from a small firm in the UK called HFS Research, talked about outsourcing is dead. And here comes RPA. We were like, what is this RPA? And that really piqued my interest. At the same time, my previous organization launched their own RPA bots platform. And I was one of the go-to-market leaders as the head of payments for that company, managing American Express, Wells Fargo, and PayPal accounts. So I got introduced to it, and I saw the transformation that he could make to the business operations teams with technologies piling up requests, and business kind of really wanted to move the needle in terms of getting their work done. Robotic process automation really made a change, and I could see it visually, experienced it through my customers, and it captivated me so much so that I actually bet my career on it about 4 years ago that I would actually start a firm on RPA. So that's how convinced I was that it's going to be a topic that's going to grow. And today it is. So I'm very happy, and that's why I stayed.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. That was very insightful. Harveer, this question is for you. How and when did you learn about robotic process automation, and what piqued your interest in this exciting technology?
So I believe this is back in last year when qBotica actually presented uh, at a European conference, I believe, where our head of operations was one of the judges. He was very impressed with what qBotica brought to the table, and he brought it to my attention that if we are looking to automate our processes, we should, seriously think about organizations which are doing some cutting and bleeding edge work. So I got introduced to Mahesh around that time, and then interestingly enough, I judged a startup contest here in the US in Dallas, where Mahesh was actually a winner of the contest. So we decided to do a proof of concept with him, and he was and the team was very excited to work with us, and we were very excited to work with them. And the rest is history, I would say.
Okay, thank you. That was incredible, actually. Gayatri, you are responsible for business transformation across many business units with your firm. And where did you start your automation journey and why?
So our company is on a growth mode. We have acquired about 9 companies in the past 5 years. We inherited different kinds of ERPs, multiple different applications that are added on to our application stack, non-standard process, manual processes across the board through these acquisitions. One of the responsibilities that I lead for our company is on the ERP transformation journey as well. We had to put a pause on that initiative at the beginning of the pandemic. So there is 2 ways to solve this problem that we have due to growth. A good problem to have, but it's still needing solution. One is add additional headcount and solve the problem. Number 2, you can look for automation to solve the problem. We started choosing the latter.
Wonderful, perfect. Similar question for you, Javier. As the global head of engineering, your scope is quite wide. Can you give us a backstory of why you started, where you started in automation?
So a few different things, right? So Western Union, again, being a 170-year-old company, very focused on cross-border money transfer. Like Gayatri said, we are on an expansion mode. In addition to modernizing and going through our digital transformation. So if I give you an analogy, we are trying to change the tires of a train which is running at 130 miles an hour, but trying to jump on another train or build a train which runs 400 miles an hour. So everything is, we have big bets on a lot of different initiatives. And sometimes adding headcount doesn't really solve the purpose. It's more simplifying the processes, simplifying the bringing things together makes a lot more sense. We do have a lot of legacy applications and a lot of legacy baggage that we carry today. And certainly we can't get rid of them because that's our bread and butter at this point of time. So in order to bring that all along, you need a glue. And the glue could potentially be something that can be fulfilled by automation, for example. And that's where I think, some of the processes that we have tested out with qBotica kind of fills in. There are some very simple, basic initiatives which can be solved with automation. But if you try to literally glue them together with the traditional way of doing things, it's not going to work because it's going to cost a lot. And eventually we'll have to get rid of them. So it's a throwaway work. So for us, automation becomes very, very effective to bring all that platform to a digitization paradigm, if you will.
Wow. I see you've chosen a perfect launching pad for your journey with some very nice use cases there. So a follow-up question for you, Javier. Why did you choose to use automation as a service instead of building it on your own?
So we do build some of the stuff on our own as well. So it's not just, one size fits all. There are use cases that so for example, our customer care does have, use cases that they've built up from an automation perspective that they follow. But then, there are so many other use cases that we don't have the expertise. And after some of these things are built, the maintenance is so low that I cannot necessarily dedicate a head count towards it. So for me, having a service provided by a service provider, which charges me a small fee to maintain my platform, makes complete sense for us. Since, it's almost, almost running on its own. I haven't seen a problem as such from an automation perspective. So for me to sign up contracts with providers which charges a nominal fee to maintain it makes complete sense. Otherwise, I'll be wasting a head count just sitting and watching and observing something that, it's generally running 99% of the time.
Wonderful. Thank you. So Mahesh, back over to you. In the recently acclaimed book, The Practitioner's Guide to RPA, author Jonathan Sureshi quoted that qBotica is the only known provider of automation as a service. In fact, you spoke about this 3 years prior at the Money 2020 conference. What made you think that automation as a service is a real possibility?
See, I think the adoption of cloud and the adoption of enterprise software by very large firms was always there. Like in the last 5 years, that actually grew exponentially. You take Salesforce, Workday, many such tools that are actually driving revenues, maintaining, containing information of your sensitive information of employees of organization, and even accounting and financial software are being used on the cloud. So when that is happening, when that adoption is growing, I figured that when automation needs to be done on those, or operations are being done by humans on those software, replacing that doesn't require really a on-premise only solution. You could actually also do away with an automation as a service, a cloud hosted solution. So I was very convinced with the rapid adoption of cloud and cybersecurity advances being made, where actually cloud is now much more stronger than certain on-premise installations. That is actually a right and a more better way to do things. So that's why we pursued that. And also the software advancement in the automation field helped us go there as well. So if you want to scale exponentially, it's always better to run as a service model. But on top of it, what we also decided that organizations use providers like Azure and Amazon Web Services as their partners. Like they actually have virtual private networks, virtual private clouds to drive their business forward. So we could actually take our containers and provide as a service on premise as well. So it's a transferable way of doing things. So I think when we built our solution on the cloud, and while it can work within private clouds, it's I believe that actually it makes it easier for adoption. So that's why we went there.
Wonderful. The book is actually an interesting read. Gayatri, to you, you chose to go down this path of an externally hosted solution. What made you choose this option in choosing automation as a service instead of building it on your own?
See, our organization is stretched thin in supporting various business growth initiatives, and we are also supporting large-scale application development. And if you were to consider RPA is still an emerging technology, and you're finding a lot of interest across the business community in coming up with new add-ons, and there is this constant evolving change that's undergoing in that part of the technology. So we wanted to identify and leverage and partner with an emerging leader in the space instead of figuring things out ourselves. We have a problem on hand now. We needed to support the business growth, and that needs attention and solution now. We don't have time to ramp up in the space before we can deliver results and make positive impact to the business. So the smarter choice, obviously, is to figure out a partner who is a leader in the space, take advantage of the expertise they have already built, communicating and coordinating activities with other customers, and we don't have to necessarily invest the time reinventing the wheel.
Thank you. Harveer, this is for you. What results did you achieve so far from automation, and what else do you expect?
So we've definitely received very positive results. The processes that we have automated, the time that it used to take for us to do that work has gone down to, let's say, 10 to 15% of the time that it used. So we are looking at 90% saving in some of them, 90 to 95% saving in some of them. I'll give you one example. We used to use an external agency for translating our data because we are in 190 countries. using qBotica, that translation takes seconds, but it used to take 3 weeks, because then, we had to have a handoff to the agency, they come back and then they go back, etc. So what now we do is we basically use qBotica to translate the data, create a base draft, and then send it over to the agency for a final quick look, because some dialects have to be taken care of, from a local perspective. But apart from that, you are looking at a 90% savings, one on cost as well as on the time itself. So I'm able to turn around a translated document within 2 days, where it used to take about 3 weeks. It used to go in the pipe, for example. This is one of them. The second one that is very interesting, that is being developed at this point of time, is our reconciliation between all the different environments that we have, because of the legacy that legacy applications that we have. The time that it takes to close our books, it's 3 weeks right now, which is ridiculous. We want to close our books within 3 hours. That's our goal. So we are looking for that. We are expecting to bring that 3 weeks down to 3 hours. When the month closes, within 3 to 6 hours, we should be able to close our books across the board. And the reason why we are not able to do it is because there is so many manual processes that exist. So we are working with qBotica to map out those manual processes and see how we can quickly automate them, and then close our books as soon as possible. And the third use case that we are expecting to see huge growth over very large organizations. I'm not going to name some of these organizations. They have grown. They're fantastic organizations, which are in the document management and e-signature world, for example. Because of the way they are, they've become so big and become very expensive. So for us to be able to experiment with an organization like qBotica makes a lot of sense. So we are experimenting with them in that space as well.
Wonderful. So Gayatri, the same question for you. What results did you achieve so far from automation? But also, if you don't mind adding, what do you think the best outcome for the audience would be? So 2 questions for you.
I'll start off with the first and foremost, the cycle time improvement across the different business, the key KPI metrics that's relevant to each of the organizations. So as Harveer mentioned, you're going to find a lot of time being spent primarily because of the manual processes that are embedded across the board. And as I mentioned earlier, we grew primarily through acquisition. So you can imagine how the processes are non-standard, sporadic, and disparate across the different functional teams. So for us, that's going to be a very key metric that we will be focusing on in understanding and the speed at which we can deliver the results back to the business in completing those processes. Number 2, cost avoidance. See, with the growth that we have seen in acquisitions, we have added a lot of headcount in the last 3 years, I would say, to support all of these different functional area requirements and needs. So to us, utilizing this automated process is going to help us tremendously in developing solutions that we can scale faster and look for avoiding additional headcounts being added on to support these processes. Through automated solutions, we are primarily attacking 3 things. 1, we're looking for that standard way of execution, a solution that is scalable and flexible that we can adapt despite whatever newer ERP we might acquire in the future, and ability to not add additional headcount, but at the same time utilize the current people in the organization without necessarily going through a lot of jumping through the hoops and completing those activities. And number 3, speed at which we can automate and deliver value. So through the POC, one of the major things that we have shown as results to our business is our ability to put a solution faster. So to me, what is key is the acceleration that we can have and the rate at which we can deploy solutions and address that growing business problem now is a key metric. And that's going to be very impactful for our business. Now, when you look at the benefits to the audience, again, I'm going to take the same example as Harveer mentioned on the reconciliation process, because that's one of our POC items that we undertook. See, our goal was really to identify the most impactful area where we can showcase results and quick win. And when we were talking about ROI, one of the key things all of our organization understood is ROI is not always about dollars. We have to understand the impact, and we have to make sure that that impact is felt quick and it is powerful. It's very efficient. So if you were to look at the different areas that we have our manual processes embedded, right from our CEO, CFO to all the functional leaders, everybody recognizes the stress and strain that it puts on the accounting team in closing the books on a timely fashion. And Harveer, I'm sharing the same sentiment with you in terms of the amount we spend in closing the books, where ideally it should be done on the same day. That's not where we are today, but that's where we are embarked. And that's exactly how we took our POC items. We showcased the results and showing just 2 processes, but within those 2 processes for POC, we were able to showcase bringing down 3 business days worth of processes across 4 different headcounts, 3 different acquisitions, down to less than 20 minutes. Story
Wonderful. We do have some time available, but we do have a few more questions for our panelists here. And this question is from MAHESH, actually. What is in store next? Is it artificial intelligence, machine learning, intelligent document processing? What is the best resource for people who want to dive in deeper?
Yeah, great. So Dominic, I think as the automation journey evolves, we would go away from keyboard mastering skills to other decision-making skills, right? So certain activities within the operational work, right, are around keyboard kind of work, right? Basically things that people use, like motoring skills to, move from one screen to another, or kind of move between applications and data types and application types. But as that evolves, you are going to, have as the use cases mature, you're going to get documents. For example, in Harvey's case, there is a number of different documents that come in as images, faxes that needed to be translated at runtime. And then we actually hit that next level. It's not just taking a text and converting them into machine translation or machine translated language. It also needed to counter those images and the discrepancies and the distortions that happen on those images. How do you actually intelligently read those images and make it good? So intelligent document processing kind of innately came in there as the next step. And then I believe as we evolve, we would actually use some more machine learning, some artificial intelligence-based decisions when ambiguous data come in the midst of doing that automation of processes. And I believe that it's going to be natural, and having RPA or automation, process automation is critical to digitize that data. And then you can actually get into machine learning and artificial intelligence. So there's no point just jumping on that bandwagon if your processes are still a little bit analog. So make sure that everything is digital. Use that data and feed those algorithms, because those algorithms require lots of data to make really real sense, and they work very fast. So you need to make sure that you feed information to them, in a consistent manner, and with the required volumes and all that stuff. So I think that for certain, and it's not like a one size fits all, or it's going to be one type of journey, like, okay, go straight line, RPA, IDP, AI, machine learning, whatever. It's not going to be in that manner. It's going to be kind of spawned across. So some would actually get into process discovery. So in IPG's case, Gayatri kind of really decided that as the leader across many business units, in order for them to be convinced process discovery could be a good option and process mining could be a good option as a complement to RPA. She chose that as a kind of the immediate tool. Harvey chose IDP as the immediate tool. And there are other customers that we work with. And I'm sure like Dave wouldn't mind if I mention North Star Digital, where they wanted to get into AI and machine learning faster. They actually looking at from a transportation industry perspective, they're looking at their shipment logs, kind of intelligently read some unstructured email to decide what's the next step. So each of our clients are taking various directions, and it again depends on the business case. It depends on the customer's maturity and their willingness to take that journey, if you will.
Wonderful. All right, so this will be for Gayatri and Harveer. And we'll start with you, Gayatri. If there is practical advice that you'd be able to share, what would that advice be for others who would want to set off in a similar direction?
I would say number one is find a business partner and advocate early on in the process. You need to identify and partner somebody who would join you to the hip from the very beginning for the successful adoption. Number two, identify the biggest burning platform. In our case, as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of fires to put out. Through acquisitions, there is challenges across the board. However, because of the sheer recognition that we already, and acknowledgement we already have from the highest level on what is going on in the accounting area, we chose that as our pilot, not only to prove if the technology would fit us, but also make that quick impact and powerful impact to the business to showcase the win for the strategy. Number three, ROI need not always be in dollars. We have to educate our teams as well as our leadership team in terms of understanding the value and the importance we need to give to the hard benefits as well as to the soft benefits through the use of these new technologies. So bring them along in that journey to understand what are all the possibilities, for example, through compliance, ability to track and audit, and having to improve on the data accuracy and integrity are all equally important as you look for hard benefits by deploying automated solutions. The next one that I would definitely say is understanding the use of the technology as well as the speed at which you can deliver results. So from IT, as I mentioned earlier, one of the important things that we had to do is we have a problem on our hand now, and we needed solution now. We don't have time to ramp in the space by understanding things ourselves. So one of the key things that we showcase to business is the speed and the acceleration that we can show in getting results faster. So now the business units are clamoring and coming behind in identifying different areas of improvements and asking for automation to be part of their business growth as well, as opposed to IT going and selling, hey, we got this new shiny object. Are you ready to invest your time and effort and support this initiative? So you really want to keep this as a business propelled strategy and execution as opposed to an IT initiative. And that's exactly what we are doing through this, the business partner and advocate we have identified.
Wonderful. Harveer, if you don't mind sharing with us, what's some practical advice would you have for others who want to set off in a similar direction?
It's hard to go after Gayatri, so but I will try. We took a similar approach, but we also had a parallel stream going forward. So as I agree that you need a business partner to sponsor, because they are the ones they'll be your advocate when you really want to show that these savings, etc. But what we also did was we did two things. While we defined our long-term strategy on automation, we said, what is our low-hanging fruit? And this translation service was somewhere sitting on the side, ignored, absorbing money where people were not really, didn't even understand, didn't even know that this could be possible. So we did partner up with the business and showcase the value within 3 weeks, for example, to show them that this is actually possible to do this in 3 weeks, which normally what you take to translate one document. So we did try to take that low-hanging fruit approach as well, in addition to all the other stuff that we are doing now, which Gayatri mentioned. You need to have a business partner. You need to understand which processes takes the most time. You need to understand where is the heartburn, and you need to align with your enterprise strategy as well, right? So our enterprise strategy is, we defined our enterprise strategy in three, let's say three ways. Between the years 2018 and 2021, we wanted to get fit. Then we wanted to drive growth. And then we wanted to do retain. Now, these are customer facing strategies, but they have implications behind the scene. How does automation align to get fit, which means our processes need to be streamlined? How does automation aligns to growth? When we acquire new software or new platforms, we build new platforms, how can we keep automating with those new platforms? And then from a retain perspective, how does automation helps us become more customer centric? So we are aligning our automation strategy to these three pillars that we have defined for the next 3 to 5 years.
Wonderful. All right, well, with the remaining time we do have one final question. This will be for all of you. And the question is, what else would you like to share or inform our captive audience in regards to automation as a service and why it should be strongly considered? Gayatri, we can start with you.
Again, I'm going to highlight some of the points that I said earlier, because that's very relevant to this question. See, when you're looking at a new technology, depending upon the size of the company, so for us, being a mid-sized company who is primarily growing through acquisitions and how centralized our IT organization is in terms of servicing all of the business organizations, it is primary for us to make quick decisions now and understand where the value add is. Our long-term strategy is definitely on the ERP transformation that we are looking for. However, with all the challenges that we are going on, we cannot necessarily sit and wait for things to turn around, because we have a burning problem that we need to solve now. We need to support our business growth in these times, especially because of pandemic, right? So identify and focus on not reinventing the wheel, but understanding who you can partner with. And as I mentioned earlier, that was the key criteria for us. When you have quick results that you need to show and you have very short time, you really want to identify an emerging leader in the market who has already done this and seen this and can leverage the industry best practices they have seen through other customers in your own business. So that's really what the focus and importance was for us in turning to automation as a service.
Thank you. Thank you, Mahesh. Really quickly from you.
Thank you, Gayatri and Harveer, for those wonderful comments there. And I kind of really, resonate with what they really want, because if you saw the message that was emerging, it was about increasing revenues more than just increasing operating margin. And when you talk about automation, I think the general marketing message and the general message across many forums is that, okay, it helps reduce the keyboard mastery skills or keyboard based tasks, basically, focusing towards the cost of goods sold, kind of automate, like kind of, reducing this cost of COGS is where kind of the primary objectives of many firms are. I would say, like, thinking beyond that, thinking at opportunities to, optimize, your data and, to kind of get to the critical decision points, like collating data to increase sales, for example, right? So how do you actually, quickly, adjust price based on, market parameters? How do you actually get data at the point of sale for your customers so that, they could actually make a decision to buy faster? So I think focusing on those initiatives, improving workforce, helping them handle more volumes. And now is the time. I think, people are working under tremendous stress. For example, the back office of the world, India is actually really under pressure right now. And when these things are happening, there is so much pressure and, where people are not able to concentrate just generally across what's happening around them. So to augment their work with tools, with technologies that is available is very important. And, solving, like some of the panelists today mentioned about, it's not a solution by adding headcount, right? So just headcount is not going to work. It also requires speed. right? And sometimes the average turnaround time, the customer service kind of scenario. When the pandemic just opened, I have had personal situations where I had to cancel a lot of my travel bookings for the year. And I had to sometimes sit on it for weeks before they actually confirmed whether I'll actually get my money back. And so I think automation would have really helped those firms turn around things faster. I think there are real use cases, these use cases touch as employees, as humanity ourselves. So I think we would have to think through that and think bigger, and this is like the most easiest things to attack, if you will. And I think I've seen customers across the world adopt it. We have some one of the world's biggest public service agencies are our customers. So we're actually helping them in some of their work. They have like 36 different global agencies that's part of their network, and we are helping them. So we see that how it is actually helping things on the ground. So I will urge that consider those points as well. And we are here as a partner, as a consultant, as an industry person. I'm happy to spend time with people to that needs advice to move forward. So that's what I would actually state at this point, Dominic.
Thank you, Mahesh. With the final word from you, Harveer, what other things would you like to share for our audience before we wrap up in about a minute or so?
So I would like to say two things. One, if you're an executive or a person who's in charge of making things happen, don't shy away from saying that it doesn't work. Today it's not working, or our processes are broken. It's totally fine to accept it, but this is a time to make the change. Not everything that was designed in the past was designed with a very futuristic approach, because there are budget constraints, there are people constraints, there are skill constraints. We did what we did at that point in time, but today is the time to fix some of those and use automation to bring that forward, for example. That's one. Second, it is okay to have your PII data on the cloud today. We use Snowflake, we use other softwares like Workday, Salesforce, where we have some of our PII. I wouldn't say we have all of our PII, but we have some of our PII data with efficient controls, with efficient security that is there. So having said that, it's okay to use automation as a service, especially if you're scared about PII data itself. You can obviously limit it, but it's okay to have the right controls in place and the right accountability and proceed. The third thing is, don't be shy from experimenting. These automation projects are very, very quick in nature. You can pretty much test something out in 3 to 4 weeks and then make a decision whether we want to scale it out, as against your large, long-term implementations, which the return on investment, you have to wait for 6 to 12 months to even see if it's working. Don't be shy away from saying, hey, can you do a quick experiment to show me if this works? This is exactly what we did. We throw a problem to these guys and we say, can you show us how it'll work? And then 2 weeks later, they have a quick demo and a quick, let's say a quick pilot to show actually how it works. And at that point of time, I can make a decision if it's worth it or not. Don't shy away from taking that first step. It won't really cost you too much. But if it works, it's going to save you a lot of money for sure, and a lot of hassle. Right now, the translation service won so many awards within our own organization because of the way we managed to bring down costs significantly for the company. And we are talking in millions. We were spending millions of dollars in actual translation. It's gone down to hundreds of thousands and not in millions anymore. So that itself is a big statement. And what did it cost us? Next to nothing to actually, if you look at the grand scheme of things, it costed us next to nothing to do that. We're spending a few dollars on a document today to translate, when we were spending hundreds of dollars to translate a document, for example. So those would be my three parting advice or suggestions. Don't be afraid. Test it out.
Wonderful. So that concludes our time today. I really appreciate everybody joining, and really do appreciate and our esteemed panelists for joining. And hopefully we've answered your questions during this time today. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.